We actually, when we started this in 2009, our community assessment, when I look at where we have grown to where we are in 2013, and where we were back then, we are a community that is perceived as being very affluent, and indeed that is a component of it. But we do have a lot of people who are in need. We also have a high demographic of retirees. We started out in the year 2000 of that census. Our median age was 50.5. Now, our 2010, we are now at 56.1 is our median age. So you can see that there's a great attention towards retirees in this community. So we really did need this program, Community for All Ages initiative, to be able to blend that. So where we've really made some impact in this community has been within our nonprofits, for one, because we have a high ratio of nonprofits here. People that retire tend to then go into more of a creative process, and they're also advocates. So what they're doing is that they're creating these nonprofits, and what we found was that many of these nonprofits were siloed. So a lot of our programs that came out of our Community for All Ages initiative address those. So the impact, what we're making is to come together, to have more of a cohesiveness of all of our ages and working together, and especially these nonprofits that are doing such good work needed to know the tools to collaborate. And so those are just some of the things that I feel has certainly impacted our community, and it's showing up now long term as far as what we're seeing with other organizations that haven't even been a part of this process. And with our connection with the city of Sedona, they're now developing a Sedona community plan that has intergenerational language in it. So those are the kind of pieces when you see that your work has made some impact.
From the perspective of the community center, anytime we organize events here, we're always thinking about how to include high schoolers, adolescents. For example, we organized a Friday night dance, and we had 8 to 10 high schoolers here every week, every Friday night. And I was asking them, how come you chose to come here for the dance? And they said, because there's no other place for us to go. And you've got a great dance floor here. Yeah, if you're a high schooler, there's no place for them to dance on a Friday night on the weekend here in Sedona. Mitzvah Day, we're always looking for how to include high schoolers, boys and girls clubs, how to get the youth involved. And with the community garden, same thing. How are we going to involve them? And so subsequently, the high schoolers and youth have been involved in all three projects.
Well, as John mentioned in what he just previously shared about the dancing, but as far as some of those programs that came out of our initiative through the Sedona Community Consortium, and one of those is the Time Bank, and so I have several examples as far as what has been achieved as far as what we've done with our group, with our collaborations with organizations, because we believe, as far as in our time bank, that having organizations as a part of your membership model, not just have individual members, but have organizations as a part of that, then we can actually see a lot of collaborations where we can see where the Sedona Teen Center helps seniors with a project of cleaning weeds and things like that, those kind of events. We've also, when we started this, some of our initial projects back when we were going through the assessment period, we did the Sedona Shuffle, and what bigger event that went on as far as to do this flash mob, and that actually continues today with another entity that has actually taken that on, and that's one of the other success pieces that we have within our initiative is that many of the projects, which I can go down the list as far as of those that are a part of the consortium, how they've all, as far as their sustainability model, is that they've actually been taken on by other people to continue the process. And it's not just under this roof now, so that it's broadened out into the community. So,
how did this center feel thinking about or considering the idea of it being a little bit more intergenerational as opposed to what it was before? What were the initial feedback or feelings?
Well, I've been here for 1.5 years, and so this project goes back about 4 years. From what I heard, it was immediately embraced by both the executive director, the staff, and the board of directors. It felt right.
well, as you know, I mean, or at least those in the network, I think you've always seen Sedona as kind of this model of like, what are they doing now? Because we were developing so many different ideas. But one of the things that I think what came around that still holds true today is one part of the consortium where there was a focus on nutrition, food. So out of that became a variety of different pieces, because what you set out to do with a collaboration with another organization, and then there was some other events that went on that changed that and brought it back into the house again. And I'm talking about which then ultimately created the community garden, which is in the back now, which is a collaboration now with a different entity. So those are, when you set out to plan a particular project, it doesn't quite go in the direction you had thought, because there's just other challenges that come along the way, but yet it still flourishes, it still continues. I think that was, at least in the process since I was involved with the initiative since the beginning, as far as what I could see in that endeavor around anything that had to do with the nutrition and the food part. So that's one example that I could see had so many different faces to it, and to where we are today with it, which is actually, I think, kind of the nucleus of what, it grew into this big thing, and then it came back home, and now, and also working with the community here adjacent to the community center, it all fits the demographic as to, as far as to be able to access the Hispanic, which is our second race that's most predominant here in Sedona. First it's Caucasian, and then it's the Hispanic community that comes in at around 15% of the population. So that, I think, is just perfect as far as the way that it's kind of come back home and it's working.
I think the main benefit is it builds respect between all age groups. And I've noticed in the Mitzvah Day event, I've noticed in the dance group, that sometimes the leader of a certain project or a dance or whatever it might be 16, or it might be somebody who's 80. And so everybody just joins in, whether they're 16 or they're 80. So that's nice. And as far as feelings, I think everyone is just so impressed with how well everything unfolds when you approach things intergenerationally. Well, I went up to each one of them, the high schoolers, and told them how pleased I was that they came and joined us. And so every time they came, every week, they would always look at me and say, "Hi, good evening, sir. It's so nice to see you. Thank you for letting us be here." And so it was just very congenial.
I think it's also important, especially because this is our senior center here, which is known